BettorSports.com on Bettor Sports Network.
Good morning. Thank God it's Friday.
It's Friday, pumpkin.
Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday.
TGIF.
It is Friday, right?
Have a great weekend, everybody.
It was a Friday I never forget.
Thank God it's Friday.
Who wants to put on a show?
Getting ready to kick some mad flavor in your ear?
I'm a big fan of the show.
It's showtime.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
The weekend cannot begin until we tell you it can begin. We welcome you to Lunch Money, 3 hours until your weekend begins. At least that's the hope, although I know Ray's crazy busy. A lot of you are probably getting set for drafts this weekend. I've got some drafts this weekend. Things to do, people to see, people to pick. Unfortunately, Ray, none of us, no matter where we're drafting, no matter what we're doing, none of us, Ray, will be selecting Rhys Hoskins. We lost another one, and we can't blame the WBC for this one. Rhys Hoskins, Ray, just as we kind of feared during yesterday's show, we were on air when he was helped off the diamond down in Florida. The reports are done for the season with an ACL. That is a top 10 first baseman that is done. And Ray, as we've talked about, that's not necessarily a very deep position. So it just got thinner with that injury to Hoskins.
Yeah, and it's any injury obviously is terrible, and it's always, it's always even more disconcerting when he's trying to field a ground ball. Like it was kind of like the Gavin Lux thing when he's running to third base and his knee went. It's even worse with the Hoskins. He was just fielding the ground ball. He went down. They're getting a second opinion, which is your ACL's torn. Like I don't know what the second opinion. Okay, right? Let's be sure what we want to do. You're gonna have surgery to fix it. There were reports that he was walking around the clubhouse yesterday, and a lot of people got excited. And just, to remind people, you can tear ligaments in your knee and still walk, right? It's twisting, it's turning, it's starting, it's stopping, those kind of things that were the issue. Bottom line is Hoskins is done for the year. It sounds like they're going to mix and match a little bit, but Derek Hall's the big winner here. He's a guy that hit 35 home runs last year. If you combine the minors and majors, He'll only start the season as UT eligible in almost every format. But it sounds like he's going to be play the majority of the time at first base for the Phillies. And, I'm not saying he can replace Rhys Hoskins, but he's not a bad pivot. The Phillies got kind of lucky here that they've got a guy that could approximate at least the power numbers of Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah, and I think it is going to be Hall, Ray. And I think in mixed leagues, he's draftable, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, immediately a guy that wasn't even on anyone's radar because there's no playing time. You're not going to bust Hoskins out of there. Now, Ray, there's playing time. And, of course, the DH kind of figures in here, too. Hoskins may have DH'd a little this year, so that kind of opens up some at-bats. And last year, you mentioned the combination of major and minor league numbers, over 30 home runs. It was really solid in the majors, too. I mean, this guy had 9 home runs in 42 games. 9 home runs in 142 plate appearances. I mean, to put, what is that, about a home run every 15 at-bats, roughly speaking.
It's a 40 home run pace.
Yeah. About 15 and a half. I mean, Ray, that's a good number. Like, if you were to sustain that, I don't know what Judge had last year. I'm guessing, per plate appearance, he was probably 1 every 10, 1 every 11, on the plate appearances. But gotta say, and again, I'm not going to sit here and go, this guy will hit a home run every 15 plate appearances. But he's got the talent, and he's 26. He's no young, chicken. He's not 22, and we don't have any experience. This is a guy who could maybe run his way into 25 home runs this year with Philadelphia.
Yeah, Judge hit a home run every 11.2.
Okay.
But yeah, 15 is great. Hall could hit 40 home runs doing that if he played a full season. The issue with Hall is it seems, like I said, it seems almost certain he's going to be the primary first baseman against right-handed pitching. A platoon has got to be something you consider, though. Last year, they only gave him 12 at-bats against lefties. They didn't even bother. They said, nope, no thanks. And he rewarded their faith in him by going 1 for 12. So, if we're capped at 450 at-bats, then he, again, that's why we're talking about him being a reserve round option. He gets 450 at-bats. He could hit 28 home runs and drive in 75. Yeah. He could do it. He might hit 230, and so he's not a complete player. He's not full on, Rhys Hoskins. But again, for most organizations to be able to pivot to a guy that you have a pretty high level of confidence they're going to have success, it's not always a situation that all the teams have.
Would it be like Jared Walsh? A National League version of Jared Walsh, maybe. Walsh maybe has a bit more of a hit tool. And I'm kind of playing this guessing game with Hall. Again, it's 42 games. So, Ray, we've seen guys come and go in 40 games. I'm trying to remember, was it Dominic Brown with Philadelphia years ago?
Killed it.
Like, he came up for 40 games and was like absolutely an all-star. And then Dominic Brown never became anything. I mean, he burned out. He was done after 40 games. So that's always the danger with taking a really small snapshot. And even that snapshot, Ray, it's not the day in, day out. That is a challenge for anybody. And so we like to get excited. Hall is not considered any kind of like high-end prospect or a guy who's a, top 8 young first baseman in
He's
baseball.
27 too. He's not young. He's 27.
Yeah. So it's worth a look-see. And honestly, Ray, it's something where if through the first month of the season and he's hitting 195 with 2 home runs, you move on.
Yeah.
You kind of just see what you can see maybe in the 26th, 27th round with a guy like Hall.
Yeah, I've got him right around. He's only DH eligible, right? So he's not qualifying at first base in the rankings over at fantasyguru.com. But I've got him about 24th at first base.
Okay.
And that's in the realm of the Will Myers and Josh Naylors of the world, kind of like what we're talking about here. So Tristan Casas. So yeah, I mean, again, it wouldn't be shocking. I wouldn't be shocked if he hit 30 home runs. I wouldn't be shocked if he hit 16. I wouldn't be shocked if he was out of a job in late. You know what I mean? It's a huge. But I think, given the ballpark, given the lineup, given what he showed last year, what he's shown in the minors, I think it's reasonable to expect 20-plus home runs.
I guess it's been about a month, Ray, since you and I talked first baseman. And again, this is now a top 10 first baseman. Rhys Hoskins was going 9th overall at the position. He's done. Ray, this position's loaded at the top. You have Pete Alonso and Freeman and Guerrero. These guys are all pretty well gone by the middle of the second round. Paul Goldschmidt, too. I mean, all these guys are gone. Matt Olson having a great spring. He's going to be drafted highly. Jose Abreu maybe. Then you kind of get into the question marks. Vinny Pasquantino, can he keep it up? What more can we get from Nathaniel Lau down in Texas? When you look at this position, are you worried about first base in terms of building your team? Like, is this something where, in the first round, you can go Vlad or you can go Kyle Tucker or, there are different ways you can go. Would you emphasize getting a stud first baseman? Because this position, I don't want to say it's bad. I mean, there are some guys I'm interested in outside the top 10, but there are very few givens after the first 5 or 6 guys on this list.
Yeah, I think that first base is a position where the drafts I've been in, for whatever reason, I'm in all these, 14, 15 team leagues, and I'm lucky if I get picked 10. I'm always at the end of the first round. So I've been taking, the Freemans and Goldschmidts of the world in the first or second round because I realized by the time it comes back to me, I'm going to be in the, Christian Walker zone. And then it's I'm just going to wait. So I think that over at fantasyguru.com, we've got 4 guys on the first tier at first base. Matt Olson's not on the first tier. And I really struggled with that because he just doesn't produce the batting average of the other guys. But if you wanted to throw him in there and say he's totally fine with that, you can throw Jose Abreu in there too. If you say, I'm not necessarily looking for power. So let's say there's 6 guys you're really comfortable with. That's how I see it, to your point. And you've got to decide, do you want to get one of those first 5, which go quick? Then there's a couple guys that are kind of there, and then it kind of just fades off as everyone kind of goes, nah. I have found myself more often than not, I think, though, again, because of my draft position, getting one of the top end guys early in the draft.
Outside of the top 10, guys that I kind of like, for those who may be caught this weekend without one of these studs, the CJ Cron, I had him in a lot of leagues last year, and the overall picture was fine. But he is a total night and day guy between Colorado and everybody else. So that can get frustrating. But if you're in a daily league and maybe you can maneuver around the schedule, CJ Cron works really well. So daily league players where you can make changes every day, I like CJ Cron. I think Andrew Vaughn is in a good spot with Chicago. You've got the infield outfield eligibility. I like him. I would throw in Josh Bell, who I think is in a really fine spot with Cleveland. There is so little pressure now on Bell. He's going to hit 4th. That ballpark's actually fairly good for left-handed hitters like Bell. I think he could be a steal, around the 20th pick at first base. And I'm not a Josh Bell guy. Ray and I have talked a lot about him. To me, Josh Bell has had 2 good first halves, and the rest of his career has kind of been pretty mediocre. But I think he's in a really good spot with Cleveland. I'm more bullish on him than I have been in years past. I do kind of like Tristan Casas of Boston. There's a chance he's leading off for that team. I was reading some coverage of the Red Sox, and he might be your leadoff man for Boston. Now, he's a rookie, and we understand rookies, but that would be another name I'd throw out there. Are there any names, Ray, I didn't mention there that you kind of like outside that top 10 at first?
Yeah, his ADP is about 230 in March over at the NFBC Casas, so it's not expensive. I like Ty France.
Okay.
And he's very unsexy. But we've talked so much about the Mariners, and there's so many guys you can focus on with the Mariners. You never talk about Ty France. And, if Ty France hadn't gotten hurt, he might have hit 300 last year. His second half was bad because he was dealing with some health issues. I think he's a very stable option that's not sexy, but again, very stable. I like him. I think Brandon Drury, who qualifies all across the infield, he's another guy I like, and his price point is not prohibitive at all. And he's got 3-position eligibility in most setups. That's another guy. And, Trey Mancini, I ended up with Trey Mancini in my, what was it? My Tout War.
Keep the acronym straight. You're in like 7 leagues.
FSGA. Yeah, I know, right? My FSGA draft the other night. And I think I took him like in the 23rd round. Like, I don't think Trey Mancini's sexy, but he's another one of these guys. Like, he goes 23.75. It's like, I think that first base, you can find those kind of guys late. So there is an argument to be made if you don't get one of the top guys. Do you need to be in that second group, or do you just wait to the third group? Because the third group, again, guys like Drury, Mancini, Jared Walsh, even Will Myers, if you really want to push things, like there's some talent a little bit later at the position too.
Rhys Hoskins out, pretty well confirmed for the season. Derek Hall in for the Philadelphia Phillies. So make sure you're not the guy who calls out Rhys Hoskins. That's going to happen tomorrow in a lot of home leagues. Just wait, people. There's always that guy who's like, why is nobody drafting Rhys Hoskins? It's the 17th round. And Ray, they call him out. How do you handle that? For me, I'll say this. The hard line Kyle Alfred will say, Jesus, it's 36 hours old. Okay, you should know by now. I will say, Ray, I'm the commissioner of my home league. If somebody makes this mistake tomorrow, we usually say, like, he's hurt, right? We go pretty casual on guys who maybe make that draft mistake.
We were covering an event earlier this year. I think it was for Labor, and one of the folks grabbed Brandon Rogers after we all knew his shoulder was jacked because they had missed the news. So it happens. Steve Phillips was hosting yesterday on Sirius XM, the former GM, and it's one thing to draft while you're on a show. Like Kyle sometimes will host a draft, and I'll co-host, and I'll be doing a draft. It's very difficult to be the host and a draft because you're doing so. So Steve missed the news. He drafted Hoskins and Iglesias.
Oh,
I know, and it's like, and in that scenario, it's
man.
like, I know, and it's like, yeah, and it's I feel bad for Steve, and he mentioned it after. He's like, look, and I'm like, dude, no, I'm not putting you down at all. That's disastrous hosting and drafting at the same time. But I guess the room for him didn't care. They didn't give him any quarter. They just said, too bad for you. So you can play it either. I'm kind of the opinion that you should know. Yeah. So if you take the wrong guy, you take the wrong guy.
My home league, we got a lot of serious baseball fans, but we're all married with kids, and it's easy for me. I mean, I talk this every day, but even the baseball fans can miss news. You're busy with other things, and I don't expect everybody to show up. My draft is tomorrow. I don't expect everybody to show up at that draft and be as in tune with the world of fantasy baseball like I am. I don't hold them to my standards or to Ray's standards. So in years past, we've had a couple of these occasions pop up, or like the guy gets hurt the Friday night before the draft or something. And we usually say, hey, he's hurt. And most of us are fine, letting that slide, if you will. I mentioned all those drafts you're in, Ray. Like, do you have it? Like if I pressed you down, do you don't know who's on each team, do you? Do you like if I said, who's your second baseman on your NFBC team, you would have no idea, would you?
Yeah, no, I mean, and I see a lot of people
early in the season to keep everything straight.
It is, and it's there's fan tracks here, there's RT Sports here, they're all over the place. This league has unlimited IL spots. This league has 5 IL spots. This league has no IL spot. This league, so 35 roster spots here, 29 there. So to answer your question, no, I don't. Yeah. I mean, I have a rough guess, and I could probably, get 70% accurate with it, but no, it's really difficult. And then it's complicated by the formatting, waiver. A lot of people should check too. A lot of leagues are running waivers this weekend. Mm-hmm. They're not waiting till the first week of the season's played. So, check that, because depending on if you drafted back on February 15th, a lot has changed. So, but I couldn't tell you specifically on every team. No.
I've actually got coming up in my appetizer some waiver / draft advice for the weekend. Some guys who, if you did draft 2-3 weeks ago, probably went undrafted. You might want to take a look at them on the waiver wire coming up for this weekend. Great to have you with us. Kyle and Ray taking you up until 3 o'clock. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's BSN Fantasy Baseball Draft. Ray and I went for a couple of hours with lunch money. Today, we're back to the full 3. If you missed any part of that BSN draft, and we had a lot of good back and forth with all of the analysts involved and, me and Johnny V going back and forth. So there's a lot of good coverage. It's 3 hours long. So you can hit it up on the Bettor Sports Baseball Preview, which is totally free. It includes that draft. There's a lot of other video up there. Ray, myself, Adam Ronis, former Major Leaguer Cody Decker, they're all a part of it. So get signed up today. Certainly if you're drafting tomorrow, Sunday, even tonight, maybe get some last minute advice here. It's totally free. You just sign up, boom, you're in, and you can access all of those videos. So check that out maybe as you're looking to spend some time and do some prep leading up to your baseball draft. Of course, you'll be able to prep with us over the next 3 hours. I want to thank our producers, Heather Klein and Josh Winchester. Chat room is already up and running, so good to see everybody jumping in there. Looks like there's more pressure on me to hit it with my bet du jour. There's at least one guy, Ray, who really cares about my bet du jour. Legend Tim